Hey there, EB here on the Anything But Bland weekly update. I have a cold, pretty bad cold, so excuse my hoarse voice or a little nasally. It is going around big time. Um, Knocked me out for a couple days. I feel like I'm over the hard part, but I'm still about a day or two or three out from feeling totally better. So let's jump in. There is just so much happening at warp speed, both domestically and internationally, that I think we have to talk about it. The first thing I want to talk about is Hamas releasing four dead bodies back to Israel today and doing it in such a disgraceful fashion. It was two young babies, a mother, and an 84-year-old man, and they put a funeral show on it. They returned them in caskets with a note on one of them that said date of arrest, uh, September 7th, 2020, October 7th, excuse me, 2023. They put the names of the dead in on the casket, and the babies were different. Um Michelle Cavernos from South Africa just told me that three buses just exploded. I don't know where they exploded, whether it was in Israel or in the territory of Hamas. But let's find out about that. That if that's the case, we just going to have to wipe these people off the face of the earth. What they did to these dead hostages is disgraceful. It set Israel into orbit. The rest of the world is shocked. They put the names on the coffin, and they mixed the bodies up, and it's enough already. The people have to stand up. No, Michelle just said five buses had explosion in Yekaviv, Bat three exploded. Five had explosive devices in them. I mean, it's enough already. I've had it. Um, Hamas doesn't want peace. The Palestinian people, they don't want peace. They are not rooting out these Hamas terrorists and helping Israel get them rid of them. Uh, the PLO is not doing enough to help Israel. I'm sorry, I don't think we're ever going to get to phase two of the peace agreement by March 5th. Um, it's just I'm just shaking right now because I can't take what's going on in the world anymore. Um, and let me catch my breath here. Now turning back to Ukraine, uh, what is going on in Europe is totally frightening to me. I don't know if I'm living in a world where truth matters anymore. I don't believe it matters. Um, I don't think the world cares about it anymore. I know the Republican Congress doesn't care about the truth. This week, we saw Trump turn totally against Ukraine and right into the arms of Russia. Trump called Zelensky a dictator. Trump said that Ukraine started the war. Now, let's have a little history here. Russia invaded Georgia in 2008 and took over Georgia. In 2014, they invaded Crimea. In 2022, they invaded the rest of Ukraine. And since 2022, they have been bombing electrical plants. They've taken over 100,000 Ukrainian children back to Russia. They have committed war crimes that uh, Vladimir Putin has been indicted by The Hague as a war criminal. And yet, the President of the United States calls Zelensky, who was elected and is operating during a war, a dictator. He doesn't call Putin a dictator. He has the temerity to call Zelensky a dictator. He says that Ukraine started the war, and only two U.S. senators Wicker from Mississippi and Kennedy from Louisiana, both Republicans, said that is not true. Where is the rest of Congress? Where's the rest of America saying, no, wait a minute. This is Russia invading a sovereign territory. You know, the NATO was created after World War II to keep Russia out of Europe, bring the United States as part of Europe, and contain Germany. It wasn't to bring Europe in the arms of Russia. That is what Trump wants to do. He wants Russia to now become part of the G7 to make it the G8 again. He has been uh, using Russia propaganda against Ukraine, saying that Zelensky has a 4% approval rating. A 4% approval rating? I get it, Michelle. He's trying to make a deal. Um, but don't listen to me, Michelle Kuttner. You don't have to listen to me. I don't hate Trump. I hate what he's doing. Okay? You do not turn on a country like that by falling into Putin's arms. Okay? It's inconceivable to me that we have now gone to Russia first without having Zelensky at the table. And why did this happen? Because in Germany, the Secretary of Treasury came to Zelensky with a document that said sign over 50% of your minerals to the United States and sign it right now. Zelensky couldn't do that. He has to understand, what are we giving up in return for giving you 50%? What are we getting back? Are you going to give us lasting security? Are you going to put troops on the border? Are you going to not let Russia take the territory that they've taken since 2022? Are you going to give us a path into NATO? What are you going to do with NATO? Right now, I don't blame Europe for going on its own. I get it that Trump is pissed that there's a number of European countries in NATO that aren't spending the 2% of their GDP on defense. But let's look at what has happened. Not one Europe soldier or United States soldier has lost their life in this war between Ukraine and Russia. And what have we gotten in return? We were able to give them money and weapons to fight Russia, destroy their economy, destroy their army. They have to have conscription of adults now in their army. Russia's arsenal is completely depleted. In return, the United States defense infrastructure now is making newer weapons to replenish what we've given to Ukraine. And we have not lost one single human life as a result of this. Neither has Europe. It's been the best exchange in the world. We have a weakened Russia. And what is Trump doing? He's mad because Zelensky wouldn't sign the agreement to give over 50% of their minerals, which is a high mineral country. I do think that ultimately that should be on the bargaining chip where they give up some of their mineral rights to the United States in return for us providing security, getting peace, standing Russia down. No question about it. A partnership for the United States will work. I think that would be a smart thing to do. But people have to deliberate. They have to negotiate. They have to understand, what are we getting in return? It's not Luca Brodsky, sign this document right now with a pen, or your blood's going to sign it when I blow your head off. So I think we should slow everything down. And as a point of privilege, we've had a government for 200 years. Again, it is the easiest thing in the world. A 5-year-old could do it, to tear down the government, to fire wholesale departments and get rid of 100, 200,000, 100 or 200 or 1,000 FBI employees. Sure, anybody can do that. The harder part is to take a scalpel and study and analyze who are the essential workers who are expendable. That's what should be done. Excuse me for a second. What should be done is Doge, who's doing exactly what Trump wants them to do, go into every department, bring back a report to him. Then let's take it to Congress and let's Congress, who's elected, our elected officials, House members, Senate members, look at what these recommendations are and let's make sensible strategic cuts to every single department. I'm all for it. But to take a sledgehammer to people who are nuclear inspectors, to take a sledgehammer to people who work for the IRS, to take a sledgehammer to FAA and flight safety and EPA and energy. That's not uh, government. That's not governing. That's just tearing down. It's so hard to build up. It's easy to tear down. So let's not confuse this 1 month destruction of 200 years of government as being something that we should applaud. We are not going to understand the repercussions of what is going on. Um, it doesn't seem like there's any logic to it. We heard earlier this week that Elon Musk said, "Oh, we saved $8 billion under this program. 8 billion." It turned out it was only 8 million. It turned out that 2.5 million of it was already spent, and there was only 4.5 million, 5.5 million that was left. So let's really start seeing. Don't just spat out numbers. Oh, we've already saved $50 billion, and they're going to end up saving $2 trillion. Let's really get the numbers and see what's going on. Do you know that this afternoon Trump stated that he wants to eliminate the IRS and that our country, he did this through Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, made a statement and said, our goal is to eliminate the IRS and we'll get all of our money through tariffs. That we will tariff other countries, they will tariff us, and we will just keep tariffing each other. And it'll bring in $800 billion a year, and that there will be no more need for income tax. Therefore, everybody will be able to keep their gross income without paying any income tax on the federal level. Planet is he living on? Come on, folks. Do you really think that we're going to be able to tariff our way out of paying income tax? Do you not want a government? Just say it. Just say, you know what? Let's eliminate the federal government. All we want them for is military. We don't want them to repair our highways, the federal highways. Remember, I 95, I 20, I 81, 87, 77. They're owned by the federal government. They're not owned by states. Who's going to repair them? Do you want the drinking water that we have in that we get? Do you want that to be tested? The USDA farmers are now not getting their aid because all the USDA money was uh, suspended. Just there was a thing on the news. Farmers in Idaho are saying, "Wait a minute, where are our subsidies coming from? You told us to put solar electrical panels on our farm for electricity. Where's the money? We're going to go out of business." These are MAGA voters, folks. These aren't just the liberals or the middle of the road, or you want to call me a Democrat, call me anything you want. These aren't just us. These are the MAGA voters who aren't getting their money. These are FBI officers, um, are who are career FBI officials who are Republicans who are losing their jobs. Kash Patel just got appointed and approved to be the head of the FBI. He was a public defender. Folks, he's no more qualified to be the head of the FBI than I am, than anybody else. He has no law enforcement experience. It's a 10-year appointed job. A guy who said that the next day after I take over, I'm going to close down the FBI office, the J. Edgar Hoover office in Washington, D.C., and make it into a deep state museum. A 10-year appointment. We have terrorism in our country. We have drug cartels in our country. We just appointed a guy who was a public defender. Not a slight against public defenders, but not a law and order guy. Okay. That's a really, really important job. Susan Collins voted against him. Murkowski from Alaska voted against him. Surprisingly, Mitch McConnell voted for him. Although when he voted, he said, I really shouldn't vote for him. He's not qualified. So I don't get how McConnell voted against Tulsi Gabbard, voted against Robert Kennedy, and voted against Pete Hegseth, but he votes for a guy who's going to be a 10-year appointment to the most important department in our federal government, which I believe is the arm of the Department of Justice, which is the FBI, who ferrets out crime, gambling, drugs, terrorism. What's happening? Where are the Republicans standing up and saying, wait a minute? You're talking about the FBI. I get it. You want to cut foreign aid? Fine. You want to stop research into childhood cancer? Fine, which is crazy. You want to stop research into vaccines and all that stuff? Fine, fine. Let us all die. I don't give a shit. But wait a minute. I do want to know that I'm safe in my country from terrorists. That's the FBI's job. And they're not doing anything. Where are these Republican law and order senators who are voting for a guy like this? And McConnell has announced today that he was the longest serving senator in history, more than Strom Thurmond, voted 7 terms, said he's not going to seek reelection. But where is he? Where is he going out trying to change what he's done, which is the longest serving majority leader? He packed the Supreme Court. He packed the federal bench. He said he was going to thwart everything that Obama wanted to do. Where is he trying to stand up? Where is the outrage that's going on in the country? It can't just be me and the other listeners on here. Michelle Cutner, I don't know why you're on my feed here. But Europe has a lot to be concerned about. I think they should start turning to China and trade with China. China will help them secure themselves because Russia is not going to stop with just the land that they got. That's not going to be the end of it. They are going to go to Kyiv. They want Kyiv. Then they want Poland. And Article 5 says an attack on one's attack on all. What is Trump going to do? Do you really believe that Trump is going to attack Russia and to defend Europe? Hell no. Hell no. The band-aid's been ripped off, folks. I think Europe realizes that they're responsible for their own safety and they cannot trust the U.S. He's turned on a dime, and Europe is going to have to stand up. That's the only thing that I can see. Zelensky clearly made a mistake when he challenged Trump publicly and said, look, you're part of the disinformation campaign. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Nancy. Yes, we are concerned. Becky Cover, Nancy Shores, and we'll go down the list at the end. But Zelensky made the mistake. You turn on Trump publicly and you insult him, as J.D. Vance said he did, then your foreign policy is going to be flipped on a dime and Trump will turn on your whole country. That is the mistake that Zelensky made when he said that Trump is parroting the disinformation campaign of Russia. Those 3 things. 1, you're a dictator, Zelensky. 2, you should have elections. 3, you have a 4% approval rating. I mean, calling a democratic country to change its leader to have elections is extraordinary simply because Zelensky wouldn't sign over all of his mineral rights. Here's what's going to end up happening, folks. Russia's going to get to keep the land. Zelensky's going to have to give up 50% of his mineral rights. And a few years, Trump is going to let Putin finish the job. It's just going to be that. The kids that were taken from the Ukrainians are not going to be returned. Um, all of the infrastructure that Russia destroyed, which is bombing Chernobyl, which is taking out the electrical plants, who's going to repay for that? Is Trump going to make Russia repay that because Trump's taking 50% of the mineral rights? Look, Putin is the biggest geopolitical threat to the United States. Mitt Romney said it in 2013. They have violated all the rules of war. Are we forgetting when they killed Alexei Zakhanov, the guy who was challenging Putin? Are we forgetting all the people that they have uh, um, poisoned on foreign soil? It's just extraordinary to me. They've taken 20% of Ukraine's territory. Why is this personal to me? Because my grandparents came from Odessa and Kiev, Ukraine. Look, the first time Trump showed us who he was when he was on the stage in 2017, and they asked him, "Who do you believe? Our intelligence that Putin interfered with the 2016 election, or do you believe Putin?" And Trump's answer was, "I believe Putin." And you knew it then that he was always going to be in Putin's corner. Hey, folks, do you know what he did today? Guess what he eliminated? The department who deals with foreign interference of our elections. They all were fired. He doesn't want a department to be looking into making sure that all different countries, whether it's China, Iran, or Russia, or some other country that we're fighting with, Venezuela, that they're not going to interfere with our elections. Remember, Sidney Powell, the crazy ass lawyer who helped him in the 2020 election that was, supposedly stolen. She said there were voting machines that were for the Democrats that came from Venezuela. So he eliminated the department that takes care of trying to ferret out foreign interference. You think that's democracy? Is that why you voted him into office? Look, every department has waste and fraud. Let's ferret it out. It's 5%, it's 2%, maybe 7%. But you don't get rid of the 93% or 95% of it that's good. Okay? Here's his new thing. He's going to give back to the American people supposedly 20% of what the savings are from Doge, and 20% is going to go to paying down the national debt. And then the other 60% is going to go to the next year's budget. You really think that's going to happen? That's what he wants Congress to do before March 14th. Um, you really think that Congress is going to agree to that? What are these savings? These savings are just wholesale firings of people. A week ago, they fired nuclear inspectors and they realized, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Then they tried to get them to come back. Some of them don't want to come back. The most amazing thing that I heard today was Israel is using AI communications and electronic device movements to interface with AI. And they're targeting bombs when they see this movement, and then they can identify them as the enemy. So last year, Israel was, let's say, doing 10 bombs a day because they had to really go through a lot of human intelligence to make sure that they are bombing the Hamas. Now they're using AI and they're doing over 100 bombs a day. That is extraordinary to me. So let's say what I just heard yesterday. For the next 5 years, Trump has told Pete Hegseth at the Department of Defense that they want him to cut 8% of their budget annually for a total cutting of 40% of the Department of Defense. Now, listen, it's only been 30 days since he's been in office, and it's only been less than 90 days since he was elected president. And we have memories, all of us. He ran against Biden and on three major things immigration. And I agree, he is doing a lot on immigration. Some very good, some troubling, but more than good than bad. He was going to lower prices, lower inflation. Inflation is going up, unemployment is going up, growth of new jobs is going down. But he also said, I'm running because Joe Biden is killing our defense. He has killed the budget of defense, and I'm going to build up our Defense Department. How do you build up the Defense Department, ladies and gentlemen, if you're cutting it 40% over the next 5 years? What he is doing is playing three card monte with the American public. What he's doing is he wants to lower taxes for all the billionaires and all of us, ultimately, if he gives us back the savings. And how's he going to do that? He's taking the money from all needy programs, childhood kids, childhood early lunches and breakfast for kids that can't afford it with their families. He's taken away medical care for people who need it. There's going to be cross the board cuts in Social Security and Medicare. It's going to happen. Is that what you want? Is that the kind of country we want to live in where we get to keep all of our money and there's no government, no federal government? You know what he did today? He did something that's good. I agree with it. He had the ability through the transportation department to stop the congestion tax in New York City. This is the one where if you go into Manhattan from 55th Street down to 2nd, you either pay $9 for a car, $14 for a small truck, and $21 if it's a big truck. Everybody hated it. And you know what he said? I killed the congestion tax. Long live the king. Look it up, folks. He tweeted it out. We haven't had a king for 250 years. We fought the Revolutionary War so that we don't have a king. Don't ever call the President of the United States a king. They wanted to call George Washington a king. He wouldn't go for the title. He only limited himself to 2 terms, only wanted to do 1 term. This is why we fought it. There's so much talk now and so much applause that Trump is viewing himself as a dictator king. Sure, he said it in jest to tweak off people like me, but don't use those words. Those are words that really do incite. Don't say you're a king. Look, here's the problem. The old expression says that if you're not at the table, you're on the table. So Ukraine, if you weren't at the table negotiating when our negotiators went with Sergei Girdov, the Russian defense minister in Saudi Arabia, and the High Emirates guy, you were on the table. If you're not at the table, you're on the table. When you're on the table, what do? They carve you up like a turkey. Look, we got to get some senators who are going to stand up for Europe. Lindsey Graham, who is the biggest joke now as a senator, was the protege of John McCain. He was a hawk against Russia. You know what he said? Listen, listen. You know what he said in 2018 when he was sitting across from Zelensky? We are so lucky that you are fighting the war against Russia because you fighting the war, you're a hero because we don't have to use our blood to fight that war. You're fighting Russia for us. Where did Lindsey Graham go? Does he want to sniff the underwear of Donald Trump so much down at Mar-a-Lago that he's just sacrificed all his principles? Russia, folks, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1963. Ronald Reagan tore on Russia in 1985 by taking down the Berlin Wall. He stood down Gorbachev. Come on. Where are the Republicans? What happened to the Republican Party? I get it, it's the MAGA party, but there are some serious principled Republicans still out there. Elon Musk, how about this little three card money? Uh, Not only is he earning with five hands from Tesla with the government, from SpaceX program with the government, and AI and PayPal and all the other bullshit that he's involved in. How about this? You know what he is now? He's not the head of Doge. Oh no, he's a federal employee. He's called the IT director, and he's now an employee. Who's running Doge? There's 100 people that are part of Doge. Who are they? Trump did that so that he could stand down the arguments that this is an unelected official who is going into the government. Judge Tanya Chunkin in D.C., who Trump lambasted for the last 2 years on the January 6th election case, guess what? She ruled in favor of him yesterday. You know what she said? That Doge can access your private Social Security information, your Social Security number, where you get your W 2s from, where you get your 1099s from, where your investment income comes from. She said that Doge can do that. Now all of a sudden, Tanya Chunkin's a great judge. You rule in favor of Trump, you're a great judge. You rule against Trump, oh, you're a bad judge. Do we really want Doge? These people, you saw how nuts Elon Musk is. You saw it in the Oval Office. You know, his kid wiped the boogie on the Resolute desk. Trump sent the Resolute desk away. No lie, no shit. Just read it in the Wall Street Journal today. Elon Musk, the guy who says, I'm going to make some mistakes, he made an $8 billion to an $8 million mistake for all these savings. These people supposed to do, these really good employees, they get fired to get a job. Who's going to pay the unemployment? All these programs, it's just, hey, let me give a shout out. Let me talk about the warrior poet, Sheryl Crow. You know how much I like her. She's a fan of Cup of Justice. I love her music. You know what she did? She said, F you, Elon Musk. She sold her Tesla. And the 42,500 or whatever she's going to net, she's going to give to NPR, National Public Radio, because that's on the chopping block too. And look, I like NPR. Do I agree with everything they say? No. But I think we need to have arts. We need to have public radio. SC, South Carolina Educational TV. They put on some really good stuff. PBS, Ken Burns documentaries. Do we really want to be without PBS? Good for you, Sheryl Crow. I speak your name. And let me tell you something. All you Democrats out there, all you liberals out there, you drive a Tesla, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. Sell it today. Send a message to Elon Musk. Buy electric cars from America. If you want an electric car, buy a Mercedes. You want an electric car, buy a BMW. It's ridiculous. Good for you, Sheryl Crow. Research grants to the NIH have been cut. They save lives. Measles is on the uprise. You know what Kennedy said today? We're going to study the calendar of vaccines for children. Do we have a problem with vaccines for kids? I mean, Mitch McConnell had polio. I got my TB shot when I was a kid. I got my vaccines. Do we want to set our country back 100 years? I mean, it's happening at such warp speed that we can't really digest it. Why can't we slow it down? In life, you measure twice, you cut once. You don't measure once and cut twice. They're measuring once and cutting 5 times. What's the problem if we can slow it down? Slow it down. Let those do their reports, send them to Congress like we have these subcommittees. Let the Congress do what they're supposed to do, make a decision, put it in a bill, vote on it, send it to the president for him to sign. That's our constitutional process. You just want to throw the baby out with the bathwater? I mean, it's inconceivable to me. What do we do? What do we do? That's the question. What do? You better start calling your elected officials. You better start getting involved in the process. We can't just hoard ourselves in our homes or just in our small circle of our community. We need to let our elected officials know. Republicans, and I vote Republican about 80% of the time. I'm calling our elected officials and I'm letting them know no, you don't cut the USDA to farmers. No, you don't cut grants that go to research into diseases, into curing cancer. Okay. My dad died of cancer. Okay. My mom has Alzheimer's. I want money to go into curing those problems. I want childhood illnesses and leukemia to be researched and cured. Okay. Everybody's not healthy. Republican families have sick children too. You can't tell me that in 30 days this is thoughtful and deliberative analysis. You can't. I could put a 10-year-old in some of these departments and let them cut away. A monkey can cut away better than what Doge is doing. It's just really tough for me. So moving down the list now, let's talk about some more current events. Webiyama is a basketball player from France. He's 21 years old. He's 7'3", plays for the San Antonio Spurs, and he's a generational talent. The guy averages 21 points a game, 13 rebounds. He is amazing. Just read today that he's going to miss the remainder of the season because he's got DVT, deep vein thrombosis, clotting in his shoulder. It's very scary. I read yesterday that the trial of Rocky ASP, who's a boyfriend to Rihanna, he was not guilty. Joe Tacamondo, who was Trump's attorney, who Trump fired after a 30-day trial, he was accused of shooting another ASP rapper, and he was held not guilty. Tonight, folks, the USA Canada hockey game is on. This is the final. It's been a 10-day All-Star round robin between USA, Canada, Finland, and Sweden. This is All-Star at its best. It's not, the 255 points to 254 where no defense is played in the NBA. Nobody watches the All-Star game anymore. By the way, the dunk contest was won by a guy in the G League 3 years straight. I like him, but I'd rather see the dunk contest be won by somebody like LeBron James or Gino Acapulco or somebody like that who is a star in the NBA. I'd like a 3-point uh, competition to be won by somebody like Damon Lillard or Steph Curry, not a role player. Okay, that's why the NBA is suffering. This nobody watches the Pro Bowl. Nobody watches the baseball All-Star game until you start letting the winners of these games uh, get playoff home field advantage. Nobody's going to try. The players aren't going to try. These hockey players, it's amazing. Do you know what our press secretary said today? She said the president did call our USA hockey team this morning at 10 a.m. Awesome. Supposedly he gave a great speech. He's going to watch the game tonight. Absolutely love it. She said, and our soon to be 51st state, Canada. Are you kidding me? Really? That's what you're going to say when we're talking about hockey? We're going to take over a country? But these hockey players, they are playing their guts out. The flu has worked its way through everybody's locker room. Guys are playing sick. Guys are playing hurt. Owners are pissed off because when this is over with, they got to go back and finish the NHL season. But that's the kind of all-star we want. So everybody watch the hockey game tonight. Sorry, Mandy Matney. Kentucky basketball is at its lowest point. Bill Self is one of the top 10 great coaches of all time, won over 800 games. They lost by 38 points the other night to BYU. They don't have any players that are probably going to be drafted this year. It's never happened. Why? Parity in college sports. Why? Because of the portal. There's no loyalty anymore. Players play 1 year at one program, then they go to the next. Um, NASCAR. Trump is now fighting with NASCAR. I thought it was pretty cool. He went to the Daytona 500 over the weekend. He took the big beast, which is the presidential limousine, and drove it around the track. Really cool. Guess what they said on Monday? By 2025, 35, we're going to have clean energy and run on electric cars. The drivers are for it. Trump is livid that that's what's taking place. I think it's pretty cool. They're getting away from the pollution and a lot of the things that uh, are not clean energy. So there you go. A MAGA sport, if there ever was one, folks, if you go into a NASCAR event, 95 to 99% of those people are Trumpsters. They are Republicans. They're MAGA. And their sport is going clean energy. What does that tell you? We need to make developments. We don't go backwards, we go forwards. Remember, you can't trip what on things that happen behind you. You can only trip on things that are in front of you. Let's not trip over molehills. Let's trip over mountains. So um, that is pretty much it. I want to tell everybody thank you for listening to me. Let's work down our list here. Michelle uh, Kavranos told us about the explosions that have happened in Israel. I'm going to go turn that on right now. I'm just really upset about that. Um, Michelle Kuttner, no, I didn't watch the press conference for Black History Month. I should have. I'm sorry. Alexander Nicole said, "Hey, EB." Um, Susan Rogers said, "What can be done? The craziness must stop." I don't know. I don't like the Democratic bench. I will tell you, I'm sick of seeing Chuck Schumer. Hakeem Jeffries is no Nancy Pelosi. Whether you like Nancy or not, she marshaled troops. She stood toe to toe with Trump. The Democrats are silent. I like Seth Moulton, who's a House member and a former Marine from Massachusetts. I also like Senator Hines from Connecticut. They're speaking out, but the Democrats are suffering from a lack of a leader right now. So I really don't know, other than call your congressmen, call your senators. Um, Michelle Kuttner, I've already dealt with you. I hope to never hear from you again. Casey Odell, correct. Tariffs don't work that way. They don't bring in income. All they do is raise prices. He actually said again that he's going to eliminate the IRS today and nobody's going to have to pay taxes and all the money's going to come in from tariffs. Please write it down and let's see if that bears fruit in 4 years. Nancy Shore said that she's very concerned, as am I. Becky Cover said, thanks, EB. I thank you, Becky, for listening to me. Um, Look at my girl, Catherine Lip. She says, you think EB should stay out of it? The rest of us are here because we want this interpretation of politics. Thank you very much. Casey Odell, you're right. It's been 30 days. It feels like an eternity. We got another, I think, 1,400 and some days left. Susan Ash says, call them all out. Yes to all of this. Thank you so much. Becky Cover says, amen. Um, and that's it. Michelle Altman says, thank you for your insight. Guys, I really appreciate you listening. Sorry I went on my rant, but it's the only way for me to exercise my soul. Talk to you next week.